Prepare to be amazed. Zufar Bikbov from Russia, now living in the States, is going to teach you about painting nocturne lights and reflections. And as you know, the Russians are the best trained artists in the world, and you're going to learn an incredible amount today. This man is a brilliant artist, and you're going to get a chance to learn how he paints and how you can take this to your own work. Even if you don't paint nocturnes, he's going to show you some things that will help you today. Today's prize, if you want to win, is a Plein Air Magazine apron. You will have a chance to win that by putting comments in the comments section. All right. Let's get this show on the road.
It's Art School Live with Eric Rhodes. Now, here's your host, Eric Rhodes.
Welcome to Art School Live. I'm Eric Rhodes, publisher of Fine Art Connoisseur, Plein Air Magazine, and a bunch of other things. And we do this every day at 12 noon, lunchtime in New York area, where I happen to be at the moment. And anyway, every day, 5 days a week, we have Art School Live, different artists on the show, demonstrating different principles and techniques so you can learn how to do art. You can subscribe on YouTube. Just put in Streamline Art and you can find our channel, and that's got all the broadcasts we've ever done. Hit the little notification bell and follow me on Instagram, if you would, at Eric Rhodes. Make sure you do that, at Eric Rhodes. All right, I have a gift for you today, and that is a video. This is about 5 hours of video. We're in the video business. We are driven to help people learn easier, and so we bring the world's greatest artists on and teach their techniques. And this is 5 hours, 50 of our top artists, and it's called 97 Incredible Art Secrets. And you can get it on streaming or DVD, and it's free to you. The DVD, I think you pay a few bucks in shipping, but you can get it instantly. So go to 97artsecrets.com to get your copy. Make sure you do that sometime today. And the winner of the book from yesterday is Dave Stetson, who lives in Scottsdale, Arizona. And I hope he's wearing a Stetson cowboy hat. I'm sure he's heard that his whole life. Anyway, he has an opportunity. He won that book. Today's prize is a Plein Air apron. Now, today, we have a terrific guest all the way from Connecticut, Zufar Bikbov. Zufar, welcome to Art School Live. What are you going to teach today?
Good morning, everyone. So happy to be here, to appear and to be able to teach. We don't have an hour session. We have short one. And today I'm planning to teach you elements of the nocturne painting. As always, it will be conveyed with a 4 steps painting process, but you need to learn something concise, precise, maybe practice it at home. This is exactly what you will need to do before going painting outdoors. And as you see by painting behind me, it will be night scene.
You're taking the plein air world by storm. You were just at the Easton Plein Air. You were just at Door County. Now you're headed to where? What's the next one you're doing?
That will be more relaxed painting. I'm going to Maine. I'm sure there are plenty of opportunities to paint nocturnes. Surprisingly, yes, paintings, nocturnes are very popular. I was always starting, and I had the concept, maybe some equilibrium between night and day painting. And my night paintings, nocturnes, win awards. Then 1 year in Easton, it was so hot, I couldn't really stand painting during the day. I painted 2 nocturnes as a competition pieces, and both won awards. So it looks like I'm stuck with that.
You're also good at other things. We just recently released a video called Landscape Painting in 4 Steps, and Zufar did that. And he has 4 principles that he shares, and he does it through teaching from this particular painting. But let's get started right now. Go ahead and switch your camera out, and we'll go ahead and get started on the painting you're going to do today. All right. Now, I'm going to just drop out and let you go ahead and take over.
Okay. Of course, camera adjust colors. Picture which Eric showed just before of this painting was better color-wise. And, the cameras think that they know better what color is supposed to be. So anyway, you have an idea what we have here. And talking about reflection during the night, lack of light, some glossy or surfaces or water give a lot of reflection. I would say structure of entire nocturne is a different one, because we have light sources, many of them usually, especially in townscape like this, some reflection like in these posters, and you need to give it structure. I usually like thinking and explaining it to my students that you should feel about light here as a constellation. So even though, let's say in townscape, all these lights been placed by man, and they have that kind of organized, maybe like line, but you can deviate, because not always things are perfect in this world. Let's say you see here light 1, 2, 3, 4. They go as one line, and you see those lines like on opposite side of the road. At the same time, adding extra light, it adds you kind of break of that regularity. Here, light a little bit shifted to the left, and you have that kind of feeling of there is a kind of like curve happening. And I like also to do different kind of adding to irregular, let's say, row of light, some more regular, especially vertical ones. They usually work well. Anyway, we need to get closer to practice. And of course, we won't be able to paint in half an hour, 45 minutes, all entire painting. So we'll focus on probably most difficult and tricky thing, especially if you are just starting doing so. Painting outdoors has, of course, some difficulties. First, a lack of light. It's very hard to see what's happening on your palette, hard to see what's happening on your canvas. So multiple light sources are good. And of course, there are a few brands which create excellent light. Still, it doesn't feel enough, and your eyes, or my eyes, get tired very easily. Anyway, along the demo, I will give you a few tips, which colors to start with, how to create this feeling of light, which has a painterly brushstroke visible. At the same time, it still look natural, not too abstract. I would definitely say this is representational type of painting. Let's start with drawing. Talking about 4 steps, I usually, same way as I explain in my DVD, which was published with Streamline and Lilidol. I do usually a sketch, like a rough drawing. Then I do color study. Then I do final compositional decision, and then I start painting on bigger canvas, smaller canvas, doesn't matter. I call it master painting. It could be started outside, it could be finished outside, it could be finished in studio, either way. But if you had those 3 steps done, it usually works. Nocturnes are exception for that. I would say most of Nocturnes are limited palette paintings. It doesn't mean that I just use the blue, red, yellow, and white paint. I would say there is not so much of variety of kind of yellows. There is pretty much almost nothing like on side of green colors, because the green with the warm street lights, which are kind of yellow, orange. Now we have LED lights. It looks so dark. So you basically do not have to work so complex way, having the little bit brownish green, a little bit bluish green, and so on. Yes, there are 2-3 types of green. That's usually enough. And we usually during the night have a big spaces which are dark, let's say sky or this part in shadow. It's relatively flat. So I would say it's compositionally, maybe it's not easy, but on terms of covering your paint with, your painting surface with paint, it's a little simpler. So anyway, let's switch to drawing part. Yes, color study.
While you're doing that, I just want to mention that we have viewers in Israel, Shalom,
wow.
Lisbon, Portugal, India, the Netherlands, and The Hague. I saw several in Canada, Toronto, and others. So welcome, everyone. If you were watching, make sure you leave a comment where you're from. You have a chance to win a Plein Air magazine apron today. And also, we like to know where you're from. It's kind of nice to see. And you can ask questions in the comments, and I will pass them on to our guest, Zufar Bikbov. All right, now we're into drawing.
Yes, now we're in drawing. So we'll we'll try to accomplish this part of the painting. And of course, main things here, not curves, everything pretty straight. and those straight lines of the architecture and this kind of hangover over the entrance to this restaurant. This actually in Texas, Eric. This is San Angelo. It's one of the events which I usually participate, and that happened almost.
That's a great event, by the way.
Yes, it's a great event, and organizers are so great, well organized, very high hospitality level, and I love it. And I've been participating in that event 3 times. Yes. If you look at this part of the painting, there is a strange animal here. I'm not going to paint it. That actually was a sculpture through entire city or town. It's relatively small city. There are those sculptures of sheep, and they're plastic. That is why it has some reflection on it. But in painting, it looks like a ghost or a real animal. And adding to the history of this, or story about this painting, I was painting it right before Halloween. So it probably reflects somehow in this painting that we have this kind of no people on streets, strange animal, a lot of vertical straight lines, almost abstract, and only these lights break that, kind of creating shade of along the way of the whatever imaginary lines. Anyway, those who watch DVD and those who will watch DVD later will purchase, stream, or DVD as a physical product. I'd like to still convey same principle. So I usually, in my sketch and even with my final composition, on my surface, I'm using just part of it. So I have a kind of frame within which I decide what I'm going to draw. Of course, I did crop this painting, and it seems to be a composition is already kind of defined, but it's not always like that. And I didn't really want to show you work exactly from photograph. First, I don't have a photograph of it, so I was just painting outside, and I did not even think of taking pictures because it was requirement was painting 100% just on site. The second thing,
dark out.
It was dark, but imagine on another building like this, where I was sitting, there was also there was a storefront, and they had a lot of lights. So I've been sitting using very diffused, nice light on my canvas. I was lucky, so I found nice angle, nice place to work with, and had good light without my own extra whatever light gear. Yes, so definitely architecture. Architecture requires a knowledge of perspective and following it. And we have here pretty big and big shape on the right side. And again, I will be focusing a lot how to paint lights. It's not that simple if anyone tried to paint it. You know, it's not just yellow and blue. So it's to create feeling of glow. That's one thing, but remember that we have a lot of blue paint, and when we paint it en plein air a la prima, it starts really mixing with whatever, with yellow, and it turns to be green around. The green halo around lights happens, but very rarely. So I will explain how to avoid that issue.
So you do a sketch like this before you do a plein air painting?
Yes, I always do sketch. And during sketch, I sometimes realize this is really not good view. It's good to observe it, but it's really not much paintable or too complex, or composition just doesn't fit to canvas you have or any type of canvas you usually work with. So really, I take those few minutes, 5 minutes for sketch, and then for final composition, maybe another half an hour. But here again, we're spending a little time, but I just want to still show that if possible, we do value sketch, but with the nocturnes, that's basically difficult. If we want to work fast and we do shading like on bigger kind of surfaces, then lines get lost. And sometimes, of course, it's not like a painting. You cannot apply very wide brush strokes. A feeling where the lights are get lost. So my sketch is kind of becomes more formal, because sometimes even with different color or even with a pastel, I try to highlight, kind of outline where my lights will be. And then these lights again as special points like stars on the sky. They create that rhythm, and that kind of, you need to balance them. You need to find them right position. If you have chance to be flexible, sometimes architecture really demands that you need to do it exactly as it's there, otherwise it looks unnatural. So for this study, let's say I've been there on site and decided that this will be my study. This should be enough. Of course, I cannot do the full value grade probably in this drawing. I would say if it happens during the sunset, that's even like more valuable time. Quite often during the first session, we don't want to lose that time, which is when the light is perfect, and then it just fades away. The night becomes pitch black, and then all colors in sky and corresponding colors around the lights becomes much more flat. Anyway, so after kind of having sketch, and here already I have some sort of composition, I sometimes reframe my painting. Let's say, I still want that light to be there, or that poster banner to be there. So I have space to go a little bit to the left, and then I have space, and it can become my part of my painting. Or I can say, no. So I kind of frame position in what you already threw on your paper. That's possible only in this environment. If you have work on canvas, what you're going to do? Cut the panel? Maybe that's possible, but quite often when you come to event, the panel is corresponding to the frame. So if you cut your panel, you don't have a frame to frame it into. Anyway, that's part of the process. And I always look at my sketch. And of course, I transfer my drawing from my sketch to my painting surface. Usually it's a panel or stretched canvas. So what's unique about painting nocturnes? I will say a few words. It's rarely one session painting, at least two. Why? Because painting during the night usually is not under perfect light condition. Color-wise, there are some mistakes. Or you put too much red, too much green, too much blue to shadow, and then during the daytime you see it better. And then you think, I should correct. So second time when you come before sunset with a good light condition, and you work on your refining of your composition, your darker parts of your painting where you put wrong paint, and then night comes. Your perfect light comes. So even on this reference image, you can see there is some little bit of light in the sky. So it's not like midnight. In Texas, it's probably maybe like half an hour after sunset, and flat sky is probably not the best. It's not interesting, unless you have very, very nice foreground and details.
Well, let's get to painting. We have viewers in Wright, United Kingdom, more in India, Jakarta, Indonesia. Welcome, everybody. We love having you here. Spread the word. Be sure to hit the share button if you have an opportunity. That'd be really terrific. Okay, now this is the cool thing. You're going to get to see something I've never seen before, and that is a very special palette Zufar uses for teaching. Tell us about this.
So this is specifically, yes, for teaching online, because during teaching, let's say doing demo live, like in studio so people could watch, really there is no need to go this way. But this is how my setup looks like. So I have here usually square canvas. Why I choose square? It fits better to kind of like a longer screens, 9:16. That's the screen ratio which we have on TVs and many smartphones, and that's how it's usually watched. These educational videos or teaching online happening, like in one-to-one through Zoom and so on. The second thing, I want to challenge my students. I know most of people, not everyone, most of people hate square format. So I try to put my composition to square, and I give it kind of like a challenge my students, redesign it, change your composition, find your best choice. So my students all would have a different type of paintings, and when we do critique, we can say like here, so they would not repeat each other, you know. So I do it to make it a little bit harder for my students, and not really willing to do it exactly on square canvas. And palette-wise, to clean my palette quickly, I had to create something kind of detachable. So let's say I paint it. I have a bunch of paints around, and I need to clean it. If you go around with your paper towel or even with a scraper, it's really not perfect. With this, 1 minute and it's clean. I put my palette back, and it's again Hollywood view.
Sounds like
clean,
you had
nice.
magnets on that. Does that have magnets
Yes.
on it?
I'm sorry, what?
Did it have magnets on it?
Yes, it's sitting on magnets. So, and magnets, of course, not only kind of hold it on site, it's usually doesn't let me to put it different way. If I will try to put my palette this way, it's going to repel it. So it's convenient. And of course, when I work and let's say do outdoors recording for students, I do sometimes at plein air. If I have it not on absolutely horizontal surface, kind of like a little bit tilted or kind of with some angle, it's not going to fall. It's not going to slide, which is great. Color-wise, nothing special. I would say briefly, of course, titanium white. Our working horse for any nocturne is a ultramarine blue, king's blue, cobalt blue. Here's a cerulean, 2 greens, olive green and viridian. Yellows, maybe like lemon yellow, cadmium should be enough. It's summertime. I just by habit I placed more extra yellow. That's the yellow of mid. It's not going to hurt painting, but I probably will not use it. I will use, of course, cadmium orange. Not much of using of sienna. I'm sorry, for ochre, because it has too much yellow kind of like shade in it. I don't want blue mixed with more of yellow when it's not necessary and make things green. Unless I paint trees like somewhere in the shadow, I may need, of course, to create some greenish, more natural mix. You know, Eric, you've seen a lot of Russian art. So Russian paint like with very, very
group of people to Russia this September.
Yes, and I'm really jealous. I wish I could go and join you.
We had a couple cancellations. You can come along.
All right,
so let's get painting.
Yes, transferring of drawing, something different, unique. Again, it's in that DVD. I usually, for Nocturne, recommend highly tone your canvas. Painting Nocturne, especially if you try to accomplish like in one setting. Let's say it's your first night before submission of works for competition, and you decided to do it. If you have your canvas toned, it will be much easier because of with darker paints, which we're going to use, it's so easy to scrape your first layer, and if it's not dry, so you understand, you will scrape it down to the white canvas, and then you'll see too much of not texture, but too much noise in your painting. The second thing is what colors to use. For day painting, we usually tone with warm colors. For night paintings, I usually prefer to use cooler ones, because you're kind of feeling of night, even if we don't often have sometimes we don't have a moon in the light, but that kind of greenish, cooler light of it, it feels like you have a presence of it everywhere. If you have just warm light everywhere, kind of just from lights, and you don't have a feeling there is an extra source of lights from sky, from whatever, stars, from moon, it feels you're kind of indoors somewhere. I don't want that effect. If I paint something outdoor, I want it to feel like I'm outdoor. Next thing, which is specific, I use oil pastel to transfer my drawing quite often. And let's say my canvas, it was toned. When it's absolutely dry, it's great. If you have a chance to, if you did not tone your canvas, you just decide, I will do Nocturne. Try to tone it and do your sketching. So let paint to settle down, or expose it to the sunlight if possible, because the sunlight really helps to dry the oil paint. And of course, you would use some medium. I usually use medium, which is a Galkid gel. Which colors and which types of the oil pastel to use? Actually, cheaper works best. on like when you work transfer drawing for the day painting, because they have a minimum of pigment, a lot of wax. For the night painting, I would try to go with the cooler colors rather than orange, because orange has better pastel, has more pigment. Then again, it will start mixing with the blue, and then we have that green where we don't want it. Everyone knows the green is very that color which contaminates painting quite often where you don't want it. And will this light be of the color enough to transfer drawing? Let's see. I usually carry with me a few of them: dark green, cold green, dark blue, and light blue, which usually works well.
Now,
You actually can
are
see
those
it, right?
oils? Are they oil sticks or oil pastels? Because I think there's a difference.
It's specifically oil pastel. Oil sticks, I think, used to kind of convert it to oil paint. Oil pastel can be used as a separate medium, and I'm using Neo Pastel by Caran d'Ache. I think it's made in France or Switzerland. I mean, many stores have it, or online it's easy to find it as well. So transferring my drawing, it just should be barely visible, and I think you all can see.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to, when I transfer my drawing, if I found good composition, not to think like, if you found it on paper, it sits on your mind. No, you should be careful transferring all those lines, because quite often
kind of hard
you
to
have
see
it.
at night?
I'm sorry?
Isn't that kind of hard to see at night?
No, I think it's a universal rule. We quite often kind of, it's like taking a picture and then walking to the next scenery. It's how our brain makes tricks. We quite often do very nice, let's say, compositional finding here, and then think by intuition we can transfer it here. No, quite often there's a little line shift can change a lot, a feeling how balanced painting is. So I'm just telling to people again to pay attention. If your sketch is great, if your final compositional drawing is nice, follow by thirds, by quarters. Of course, here we're not very careful. I'm just saying as a general principle how it usually works. So I transferred my drawing. If you have a trouble seeing it, I can kind of make it a little stronger. Do you think I need to work a little bit more on it? It's fine. I think it's fine.
We're going to run out of time if we don't get to painting, though. So I think we should probably get moving.
So how much time we have to go? Like another?
Well, technically 3 minutes, so we'll extend it.
3 minutes. Okay.
We're at 27 minutes already, so we'll extend it so you can get some painting done.
Okay, great. Thank you. What I usually do, depending how much space in my sky, of course, and sky usually is a big part of the painting, I would mix whatever color I need for the sky. It's rarely just plain ultramarine blue. Quite often, it could be adding those. Here I have Indian red, a little bit of the alizarin, permanent, and I have some dark mix. Quite often, of course, for bigger amount, I do that with a palette knife. And I would work on my sky scene. Of course, those parts which are my lights, I'm trying not to go over them. If that happened, there is a solution. It's possible to wipe off that part, because to paint lights on top of the wet, heavy loaded areas where we have sky, it becomes a challenge quite often.
Now tell us about, looks like you've got a medium.
Yes, my medium, I have here 2 jars, one of them to clean my brush, and I use Terpenoid Natural. Unfortunately, to Connecticut, I cannot have it delivered. There will have some travel, the shipping restriction, they consider it, it's not toxic, not more toxic than other mediums, cleaning stuff, but it could be used as a medium. And the second thing is a Galkit gel. I really love it. It works well in freezing cold, and it works well in hot weather. It maintains its consistency all the time. It constantly, it's always as a gel have some glare, don't we? Looks like we do.
I think we're okay.
We're good.
Yep.
And my reference. Let me look at my reference. So you can see here, of course, I'm working on my sky. And of course, nobody wants to do painting as long as possible. If we can go work quickly, that's great. Quite often we do like a blocking. We cover with that light, which is usually good. I mean, with that color, which is like average color for all that area. And then, of course, we add, as in Russia, they say you kind of like melt in extra paint. You add there green if needed, or orange or red. Would you prefer if you have a reference all the time on the right side, or you like to see what's happening on my palette?
I think we'll just go ahead and show your palette. I think that'd be best.
Okay.
You can show the reference once in a while.
Yeah. And then the sky color is usually transparent. And I would try not to create too much texture in it unless we want to create feeling of some clouds, kind of drama in sky happening, and so on. And then, of course, using same mix, we cannot really say exactly how much mix we had to have. We can add there, let's say, Indian red, and create and do white brush strokes for the side of the building. And have here also street, as you can see.
Are you doing workshops in Connecticut? You live in the Litchfield area.
Yes. Interesting thing that we've been just talking to. I've been approached by one art educator, and I think she works for town of Litchfield. She said, why won't we start a plein air event in Connecticut, in Litchfield? And we don't have, surprisingly, any events happening in Connecticut. It's really not so, I wouldn't say not so popular. We have a group, we have many art societies.
Tell her to call me. We know how to make them successful.
Yes, actually tomorrow I'm meeting with a person. I will tell her, I'll refer that we talked yesterday with Eric, and he said he would be able to help, or at least to discuss and explain. And
yeah, well, we have a whole bunch of experts who, we help almost all of the events get themselves set up when they're new. That's part of Plein Air Magazine's job, is to help them succeed.
Again, if you had your painting, had a toned canvas, you can always kind of wipe it off extra and again work on it. Another tip, when you work on Nocturne, it's better to work with softer brushes, because harder brushes definitely will show you too much texture, which you don't need. It's better to apply paint like softly and create those brush marks, but not through scraping down to the bottom of your painting.
All right, good tip. I see someone watching from Russia. I don't know where. You guys, when you go into comments, tell us where you're watching from. That's very helpful. And comments will allow you a chance to win a prize today, the Plein Air apron. Our guest today is Zufar Bikbov, if you're just tuning in. And please hit the share button or the like button so others can see it. We're learning about nocturnes and reflections.
Camera thinks that what was happening in front of it is too dark. I see my painting, and that's the problem with the nocturne. Exactly as it's there, but the camera doesn't really get it. And I think, let's make it lighter. People usually don't like that dark pictures. and makes it
Montreal
brighter
wants to know
too.
what kind of brush you're using.
I'm using rosemary, and this is Eclipse Cumber, a 3/4 inch.
All right.
Very soft white, has excellent edges. I really love that type of brush. Okay, we're getting close to work on lights. And nocturne painting is, again, as I said, 2 sessions is usually what works well. And second thing is just, the value contraction, that kind of concept, it's really significant in painting nocturnes. You have a lot of a lot of dark areas and some very light ones, almost like nothing in between. In this case, in between would be probably just this road. Okay, we cannot really create all those architectural great details, and that's not our focus. Let's get close to what I was really talking about in the beginning.
Hello, Poland. Welcome.
If I had my painting done up to this stage before we started, again, it would not show the whole process. I want everything to look like in real life situation, and painting outdoors would be even more challenging. So now let's talk about these lights. Let's say you've been so busy and you went over your light areas, like I shown here. What you do, you can wipe off that part and that part, and you create already, you have kind of some base for your paint. To go over wet blue, it's not really a good idea. Here we kind of been very accurate. We left some spot for our street light, and I think at this moment maybe these few lights would be also a good option. Next tip: when you start, there is always temptation to start working on lights. Temptation to start exactly with yellow paint. Please don't do so. At least you will figure out maybe on your own later that the best paint to start with is alizarin, and I use, of course, alizarin permanent. I want my paintings to live longer. And I would go again with soft brush. It could be bigger or smaller, and I create some sort of base and that forest areas for halo.
All right.
And here too, even against green. And of course, it gives you also a chance to put it with a smaller brush, with a shorter handle, to have better control.
That's a good
So
tip.
next, yes, still not time to go with yellow. The next one, which is more friendly to blue, would be cadmium orange. I would try not to have blue touching or your orange touching blue part. So you would have next kind of a ring around your light going with orange. And now with orange, of course, everything on top of it will be cadmium. So if you want, you can go like down or right to the center. Same thing here. And of course, not all lights are so like you don't want all of them show so bright, so you don't have to go with all your colors up to the white paint. And then you can go with cadmium lemon. And with cadmium lemon starting, we can go and place it like more texturally.
Hello, Pakistan. Welcome.
Welcome. And of course, I'm using here cadmium lemon.
It's amazing how quickly and easily it gives you that sense of glow.
Yes, as this details, of course, the opposite saying for that, yes, devil in details, but for painting, it's magic is in details. So blocking stage, which is a foundation, which is very important, doesn't give that feeling of that things go right. And many people get scared and they bring pretty nice study home from painting outdoors. But since they stopped at the blocking stage, they think, oh no, my study is not good. So it has good colors and values. You got all what you had to do. And then you just have to add details, of course, properly knowing all rules, using all your top of your skills.
Welcome, Cape Town, South Africa.
And
You're
even though
pulling them in
lights
today,
are,
Zufar.
I'm sorry, what?
You're bringing in an international audience today.
That's great. I'm very glad that there is so much interest to the show and to my demo. Maybe people share it to their friends abroad. So I like, as you see on my reference, to add extra texture, to bring that vibration. And quite often palette knife helps that. Of course, we all know, but I try not to work too much with a palette knife. But sometimes you need to create all that uneven and a feeling of lights around. Sometimes even that, not halo, but the glare, not shining effect goes sometimes even beyond. Maybe it represents some bugs flying around the light. But our eye, or at least my brain, knows that the light, if you make it perfectly round, if the bulb of the light is round and you paint it this way, my brain will say it's not a real situation. It's kind of whatever. It's a computer created image. The real atmosphere, real outdoor situation brings some irregularity, some vibration to the light. Even very symmetric object, when it shines, let's say through the night, it doesn't look absolutely symmetric. I quite often turn, if the shape is boring, so regular, I turn it, if you could see that on my paintings, like into the shape of candle. Not really so obvious, but I kind of redesign it, having a little bit more sharp tip. Maybe a little bit wider.
You're not using any white paint at all, are you?
I use, let's see, maybe we need to, maybe I can do it a little bit more visible. I use white, actually, right in the center.
Okay.
It's hard to observe it, I would say, or to show it. And, it should be shouldn't be very smooth gradient between white and yellow, yellow and orange. There should be some line in between. As you see on the reference image on that light, it's just camera doesn't let, like with streaming, cannot show that. Sometimes with the with the opposite tip of my brush, I even create some kind of texture here, separating the white from yellow.
Nice.
And then it looks more realistic. Of course, if you paint street light like this one, don't forget to have it connected to the earth, otherwise we'll be flying the fireball. So
Zufar, what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break for about 30 seconds, and then we will be right back, and then you'll be able to wrap this up, and we'll have another 10 minutes, okay? All right. Our guest today is Zufar Bikbov, and he is fabulous. He's got a video called Landscape Painting in 4 Steps. He's from Russia. He lives in America and Connecticut, and you can get that on DVD or streaming, and that is at Streamline Art Video. I want to mention to you guys that we have an event coming up in November. We have just begun starting to announce some of the faculty, but we've got world-class faculty already. It's called Realism Live, and it's a virtual conference online. Now's the best price you can possibly get. And Kwang Ho, Teresa Waka, Adrian Stein, Jesse Lane, Thomas Blackshear, Luana Luconi, Weiner, Sharon Sprung, I butchered her name, I'm sorry. Mary White, the great watercolorist, Craig Nelson, and many big surprises to come. Get signed up. We are not doing our face conference this year because we just couldn't sell it for COVID, quite frankly. And so we have a terrific lineup of people, and you'll want to just meet some of these people, and you'll get a chance to talk to them. And also, we have a color lesson on a beginner's day with Graydon Parrish, who's going to be teaching color. As you know, he's one of the great color teachers, and so it's going to be fabulous. You'll be able to see his work and how he does it. We also have Jacob Collins, who's going to be a speaker, and some others. There's one of Jacob's landscape paintings and one of his other paintings. And so this is really terrific. It's going to be fabulous. Just go to Realism Live and check that out. I want to remind you guys to subscribe on YouTube at Streamline Art, and also to follow on Instagram. And tomorrow, Cindy Barron is going to be talking about composing a landscape. Tune in at noon tomorrow. Now back to Zufar. All right, here we go. We'll finish this up.
Yes. So as you've seen, I used time, which we had like a few minutes between my previous appearance. And I added, of course, with the glare, it's very difficult to take a picture, even picture of the Nocturne. The painting itself, the process is also a challenge because of glare, because of texture, because of the camera. Get fooled exactly thinking that this is not what he wants. And I would say, like, this is what I want. And you see it lighter on the left side. I'm glad you see a reference on the right side, quite sharp and nice. So eyes get tired. So sessions for painting outdoors, I would probably recommend not to do more than for 3 hours. 3 hours is maximum. I experienced in the past that you can almost go like blind because the muscles going back and forth from this view, which is well lit compared to what you have like behind, right in the center. Like the scenery itself, it's usually very dark, and the pupil goes back and forth, contracting, relaxing, contracting, relaxing, and we do not realize that we do that 1,000 times, like every hour, going back and forth. Second thing, if possible, when you do Nocturne outdoors, don't paint it just like during the like you do during the day. It's good if you attach your canvas panel to some surface, like a bigger surface, which is gray, and you would have 2, 3, 4 inches of space around your painting. Then your evaluation of values will be more appropriate. Of course, if you use gray, it's good to use like mid-tone gray. It happened with anyone who tried painting outdoors Nocturne. You bring it home, it's like painting in direct sun. Something is wrong, or it's too light, or it's too dark, or color is not visible. When you have your eyes to compare your painting to something else, let's say like a gray paint here, it really works much better. Not only in studio, but specifically outdoors. And of course, safety is another thing. So painting outdoors during the night, if it's ladies, of course, it's good to go in a group.
Don't stand in the middle of the street.
Yes, you may think like no cars, but that's a good tip too, Eric. I think pretty much it's, again, would take time, more and more time to have everything balanced, adding shadows where it's supposed to be. Try to use good amount of good solvent, because especially for nocturnes, if your paint settles quick enough with a softer brush, you can work on top of it much easier. And then, as what we've seen,
it'll dry faster. Dries
faster, and during the nighttime, drying is slower because there is no, it's usually cooler. It's usually, sunshine. Yes, than in sunshine, yes. So, and then, of course, not every light will be there yellow. Some lights, especially distant ones, especially in town, you have some traffic lights here and there. And even if I put there a little brush stroke, I will try to make it more artistic. You don't have to, when you just do that for practice, like just to practice painting outdoors, how it feels. But when you really want to create some painting, like final painting, competition painting, for your art association, whatever festival, you will do your both. Pay attention. And also, it's like a reverse perspective, something which is close, supposed to be brighter, like lighter, and what's in the distance gets darker. Even though street lights look like this one, and if we see another one there, it should be darker. It's just tiny bit, but it should be visible. So that's create feeling of perspective, the air perspective.
Oh,
So
that's
not
great.
that much light really comes to our eye.
So what I'm going to do before we wrap up, I'm going to show you a couple of nocturnes, and I now know what's wrong with them. I know how to correct them because of what you taught us today.
Are we finishing? How many more minutes?
I think we probably ought to wrap it up. You've
Yes.
given us so many great things that this is going to be helpful. Nobody expects a completed painting, and of course, you say you're going to do it in a couple of sessions and so on. But
Yes.
that's fabulous. Outstanding. Well, why don't you come back on camera so we can see you?
Absolutely.
I love the way that you have that reflected light in there. So, all right. So let's see if we can get rid of that split screen. So I'm going to show you. Hang on a second. So I'm going to put this in front of me. This is a nocturne of the boathouse next door, and it's not showing up well on the camera, but the idea, it's not in focus either. But the idea is that I now see that I got to put the the bright lights and the halos around and strengthen the light in there and some of the other lights. And then this is a nocturne, almost the same view, just to the other side of the boathouse. This is right next to my office and studio here. And again, on the moon like that I have the moon white. Would you actually make it yellow, and would you put the halo around the moon?
Yes, actually, I noticed that looking at paintings, like when I was a child, if you want to make color of the shining object, you can make it almost white, but through the halo and that transition, you can show, let's say, if you want to show it orange, your orange part will be wider. If you wanted to show it white, I mean the yellow, you would have a yellow part wider. If you want to show it kind of greenish, you would have like more of green, but still going through the warmer color down to the reddish, and then to violets. Yes.
All right. Well, terrific. Zufar, this has been wonderful. I want to remind everybody that he has a fabulous video out. You can get it at streamline.art or at lilyart.com. But streamline.art has it there, and that's easy to remember. 4 steps to landscape painting. It's fabulous. You were great today. Thank you much.
Thank you.
Everybody
My pleasure.
give him a thumbs up and applause. Thank you so much, Zufar. It was wonderful.
Thank you for those who came. It was my pleasure to be here, feeling honored to be able to communicate, to connect, to teach. I think teaching is so important because we can share what we learned to other people so they can become a great artist too.
Absolutely. Well, if you make your way up from Connecticut to on your way home from Maine, come on over to the Adirondacks. We'll go painting. I know some great spots for nocturne.
Thank you. Thank you, Eric.
All right. Thank you. All right, you guys, you saw Zufar Bikbov, and his video is at streamline.art. One more thing for you real quick. I hit the wrong button.
Join the world for Pastel Live, the ultimate pastel learning event, August 18th through the 21st. 4 days of online art lessons from top master pastel artists from around the globe. Learn to paint nature, people, cityscapes, flowers, and more. Become a better artist. Click the link to learn more and get our free ebook.
You could still save some money on that by signing up by the 15th of August. We've got a huge number of pastel artists around the world attending and teaching, and you want part of it. Even if you don't do pastel, we've got a lot of people who are doing it to learn pastel on our Beginner's Day. And you can do the Beginner's Day yourself, I mean, without signing up for the other 3 days. But of course, do all 4 days. You're going to have a ball. Tomorrow's guest is going to be Cindy Barron, and she's going to be talking about composing a seascape. And remember to subscribe on YouTube at Streamline Art and to follow on Instagram. I try to respond to every direct message, and it's not easy sometimes, but I am working on that. And so hope you'll contact me. Thanks for watching today, and we will see you tomorrow and every weekday at 12 noon, whenever possible. So thanks for being here. If you're part of the Dreamliners, thank you for doing that. And if you don't know about the Dreamliners, look at the comments where somebody will explain how you can become a member. And we will see you tomorrow. Remember, keep your head in the game, stay positive, stay upbeat. I know things are getting crazy again, but we will get through this together. We always do. Take care. Bye-bye.